Let's talk a bit about the nonprofit fundraising strategy that is going to be the best fit for you, and also how I tend to think of this and codify this. If you are interested in social media, how does that actually translate into donors? How do I set up like a proven way to turn strangers into donors for my nonprofit? I think you're gonna like today's video. My name is Salvador Brigman. This is the Crowdfunding Demystified YouTube channel. We talk all about crowdfunding, and today we're specifically zeroing in on nonprofit fundraising. It's coming up right after this. Okay, so let's get started. I refer to this, what I'm going to be sharing right now is called the fundraising funnel. And there's a reason why we call it, a funnel. You think of like almost like a triangle, right? Except it's three-dimensional, a three-dimensional triangle. And you want to think of it as you start outwards and then we move inwards. And I'll go through each of these levels and also what that means for you as a nonprofit owner or as the person who's in charge of fundraising, right, at a nonprofit. So the first thing that it starts with is the problem. The problem is the same thing as a cause. Basically, what are you trying to do as a nonprofit? Every nonprofit is created for a reason. Maybe you're trying to help with hunger and homelessness. Maybe you're trying to help with forwarding education in third world countries. Maybe you're trying to help with a women's shelter and women's issues, right? There's always a problem or a cause when you're starting a nonprofit organization. The question is, what is that for you? So if you have a notepad, I encourage you to write this down if possible. Go and write that down. What is your problem and what is the cause that you're trying to raise money for? And here's why. Depending on what your problem is, it's going to resonate with different people. Men and women have different giving behaviors statistically when it comes to the causes that they care about. In addition, your problem or cause is going to narrow in on the types of individuals that are going to care most about that, the stories that you're going to share to get people interested in your nonprofit organization, and also just the type of marketing they're going to be doing in general as it relates to spreading awareness about your cause. I'm going to get very brutal here, right? If someone sees a cause on Facebook, let's just say a cause that's going to help increase education for women as it relates to learning how to start businesses, right? That cause, for some people, it's going to be a yes or a no. Are they interested in that problem? Do they view that as a problem? Is that something that they want to help with? It's going to be a very simple yes or no. When someone sees a problem, they see a cause, they're either going to relate with it or they're not going to relate with it. And kind of what the whole idea of getting very clear on what you're doing is you're not trying to attract everyone. You can't have everyone be participating in your nonprofit organization. You're just trying to attract those people that care about that cause to a degree. So the first question when it comes to the very top of this funnel is, do they care about the cause or the problem? Is it even something that they're interested in helping solve? Is it something where if they're browsing through their newsfeed, they see something related to that, they're gonna stop and they're gonna read it, or they're gonna like, I don't really care about this? That is a binary question. It's a programming term. Yes or no, do they care about this? The second thing they're gonna do is, we're going down now a level deeper into this fundraising funnel, is they're going to assess. They're going to assess the value of that cause or the importance of that cause. Now, for example, there are a lot of issues in our modern era that I think are important issues, but that just aren't on the top of my head. They aren't on my radar as much. I might, maybe show some support by liking a post or by joining some kind of like a newsletter or something, but I'm less likely to give money to certain causes just because it's not something that I'm able to wrap my head around, or just not as important to me. And that's the same is true of every individual out there. So rather than just, the first thing is obviously the cause of the problem. The second is they're going to evaluate how important is that. Is this something that demands their immediate attention? Is this something that is urgent? Is this something that's going to be a problem for other people down the road? Now, for example, just to kind of give a little bit of clarity to that, let's just say that this person views environmental issues and they're really interested in that. Now, let's just say there's a specific environmental issue that relates to their community, their local community, or their region, or their demographic. And for whatever reason, if they don't help support this initiative and give money to it, that problem is going to continue. For that person, that's going to be much more of a relevant problem in their life than helping some environmental issue, on the other side of the earth when they're not even familiar maybe with that country, right? So they're going to first figure out, do they even care about, like, does this deserve their attention? But then they're going to figure out, what is the value of this cause to them? Is this something that is important? And they're also going to rely a lot on your marketing for them to understand that. They're learning, you're providing education. I might not understand how an environmental issue in a country that's on the other side of the earth is impacting me, but it's up to you as the nonprofit to explain that, to show that, so that they can wrap their head around this and see, oh, I see why this is important. I see why this cause stands out from just giving money to another nonprofit organization that just helps in general in a broad sense with environmental issues. The more specific that you can make that initiative that you're raising money for and tie it to them, the easier it's going to be then to progress to the next level in this funnel. Let's say that they've gotten through the first two levels where they discovered your cause, just so you're trying to educate people in inner city schools about business and finance, and they realize this is something they care about, that's something I care about, and that it's an important cause because they maybe went to school or they grew up in this area and they want to impact kids who also grew up in that area. So they think they kind of owe it to them and they want to help other people on the path. So they also view this as being an important problem for them, right? Then we go even a layer deeper and they start to assess credibility. So if you think about it, the message that you're sharing, they're either going to resonate with that or not. They're going to evaluate its importance to them in their life. But then they're going to look at you. They're going to look at your organization. And while they might agree this is an important cause, they might not agree that your organization is the one to carry it out or the way that they want to make an impact. The next level in this funnel is showing credibility. Why is it that your organization is the organization to solve this problem? Or this is the vehicle for them to impact the target demographic. This is the vehicle where they can really make some change. And it's kind of up to you, the burden of proof of showing that credibility. Now, there are lots of ways in which you can show that credibility. You can show other people that you've helped in the past and share the stories of those individuals. You can share the stories of volunteers, not even maybe speaking with yourself, having volunteers speak to them and to show visually or through writing that this is the experience that they had, this was the impact that they made, this is the tangible results, giving them a little bit in the ways of numbers, such as statistics. These are the organizations you partnered with before. These are the media mentions that you have. There are so many ways to show credibility, but at the end of the day, when someone experiences that, you basically want them to come away saying, okay, not only do I care about this cause, and not only is this important, but this is also the organization that I know can make a difference here. They have not only the ability to do it, not only do they have a proven track record, but also I trust them. I believe they're transparent. They're like me. They have similar values, right? By putting those things in the forefront and kind of almost in their face a little bit, people are either going to resonate or not. And usually if you're being transparent and you do care about helping people, they're probably going to resonate with a lot of the stories and messages that you'll be sharing. We've made it almost to the bottom of this pyramid, which is the fundraising funnel, okay? So you should be excited. If you're getting to this point, you're doing a lot of stuff right. When we're at the next level is really assessing impact, right? So here's a really great story of one nonprofit I was talking with. They were talking to a donor, and he was like a larger donor. And this nonprofit was asking the donor, would he be willing to give like $500 to this initiative? And he wasn't willing to. And it was kind of hard because he was checking so many boxes. Number one, he cared about the cause. He thought it was important. He believed in the nonprofit organization. They had good values, that they had a good mission, a good strategy, but for whatever reason, he wasn't giving money. And this person just was racking their head. Why is this? And finally, they asked them. And the objection, it's a sales term, the objection was they didn't think $500 could really impact the problem. If they were going to impact the problem, they wanted to give, $5,000 or $10,000. They really needed to put a lot more money into it. And they weren't asked that. They didn't know if that was available. They didn't know if even in this project that would make sense, right? So actually, once we went back to the drawing board and that person created kind of like a program or a way for that to work, that individual then did participate. Lesson learned there, right? Like the fact that someone is just interested in your organization and believes in you doesn't mean they're necessarily going to become a donor. In order to get them to become a donor, you also need to have them feel like when they're giving money, that money is going to make an impact on the end user, that it's going to tangibly change other people's lives. This is one of the most crucial parts of the fundraising funnel is getting this right. And particularly with millennials, right? We don't want to just give money to some faceless organization of some big nonprofit organization. We really want to see that our money is going to have this impact. It's going to feed this many families. It's going to buy this many books. It's going to build this many schools. The more tangible you can make the impact and put it kind of in those terms, the easier it's going to be for people to believe that they are really going to be able to make a real impact with their funds, right? So that's going to be kind of like towards the end of this process when people are assessing whether or not they should actually get involved is, can their money make a tangible impact, and can you communicate that to them with your marketing in a sense that this is going to be, tangible in the number of families that they're helping, or number of kids they're sending to school, or this many people you're helping to get jobs. Like, try to put it into those terms rather than just saying you're going to increase the employment rate by 10%, right? Or you're going to cause 14% more people to go to school in this third world developing country. People don't resonate with that. No one is interested in hearing about statistics. They're interested in hearing about other people. They're interested in hearing about other people's stories and the way that you can impact those individuals. Now, this is the last part of the fundraising funnel, right? And I would say this is kind of almost like, this is more of a, you're doing all those things and it's still not working. This is the reason maybe why. I think that just based off of the other things we talked about, if you check those boxes, then you are going to be able to convert a complete stranger into a donor of your nonprofit. And also, I talk about this a ton in Nonprofit Fundraising Hacks, which is basically this toolbox of psychological techniques, strategies, and also some proven ways you can increase the amount of money that you're raising for your nonprofit. So go and check out a copy of that on Amazon if you haven't ever yet encountered that. I'll also include a link in the description down below. But when it comes to this final level, this is where they're finally on that donation page and they're deciding, like, should I actually participate in this or not? If you've done everything right, chances are they are going to convert into a donor. But if you are finding that there's a little bit of difficulty with that last step, typically it's because of this. You have kind of like a seesaw, right? One side of the seesaw, you have emotions, and on one side of the seesaw, you have logic. When you're first introducing an idea to someone, usually you want to be ticking the emotion side. So as they first encounter your story, the nonprofit, something catches their attention, it's emotionally evocative, right? It's something that's emotionally appealing. And as they're going through, they're learning about stories, they're doing all these things, they're like, I really want to get involved with this nonprofit. It's emotionally exciting. And then as you're going down the funnel, you're starting to then tick some of those boxes related to the logic side of their brain. So they're asking questions like, does this make sense? Is this the right nonprofit? Credibility, right? What impact can I make? Those are all logical questions. They're basically, with their critical faculty in their brain, trying to prevent themselves from making a bad decision, right? So the more you can do that, then it starts to become a little bit of a level playing field. If you are both making sense of it logically and you're telling the emotionally evocative stories, you have all of the credibility and the trust, if that's balanced, then they will convert into a nonprofit donor. If not, you can also add a little bit of urgency and scarcity to the mix, where this is very typical with a crowdfunding campaign where you are going to be running this fundraiser only for 20 days. And if you don't raise the money, you're not going to go forward with the project, right? So you could consider putting a little bit of time-sensitive urgency into your final messaging, and that can kind of be like the icing on the cake to get some people who are a little bit on the fence to become a donor or to decide they don't want to become a donor. So that's sort of the final part of the fundraising funnel, is in employing some of these tactics, strategies, and techniques, which I talk about in Nonprofit Fundraising Hacks, a book that I've written. And this kind of comprises in general the fundraising funnel and how that works, how you can turn a stone cold person who's just viewing your message for the first time into an actual donor and a raving fan for your nonprofit organization. My name is Salvador Brigman. I hope you enjoyed this video. Give me a thumbs up if you did. If you like my teaching style, leave a comment, and I'll see you next time.